In the heart of Texas, where the sun blazes fiercely over sprawling oil fields, a titan of industry reigns supreme. Ethan Caldwell, a charismatic and shrewd oil tycoon, stands at the pinnacle of his empire. With tousled dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seem to hold the secrets of the universe, he's both revered and feared. His wealth is legendary, a fortune amassed through ruthless business dealings and an uncanny ability to manipulate the stock market. Yet beneath the polished exterior lies a man driven by an insatiable hunger for power and control. Ethan's rise to prominence has not come without its shadows. Whispers of his involvement in shady dealings and even darker rumors about his past swirl around him like a storm. He is often seen at lavish parties, surrounded by the elite, but those who know him well understand that his charm is merely a facade. Behind closed doors, he is a man who will stop at nothing to eliminate anyone who threatens his empire. The prologue unfolds on a sultry summer night as Ethan hosts an extravagant gala at his sprawling estate, a mansion adorned with opulent decor and glistening chandeliers. The air is thick with laughter and clinking glasses, yet an undercurrent of tension simmers just beneath the surface. Guests mingle, unaware that they are mere pawns in Ethan's grand game. As the clock strikes midnight, a sudden commotion erupts. Outside, a black SUV screeches to a halt, and from it emerges Detective Sarah Hayes, a tenacious investigator known for her unwavering commitment to justice. With her sharp instincts and keen intellect, she has been quietly gathering evidence against Ethan for months. Tonight, she intends to confront him about the mysterious disappearance of a whistleblower who had threatened to expose Ethan's illegal practices. The atmosphere shifts as Sarah strides confidently into the gala, her presence commanding attention. Guests turn their heads, sensing that something significant is about to unfold. Ethan's smile falters for just a moment as he locks eyes with her. He knows that this encounter could change everything. The emotional tone of the story is set, a clash between power and justice, ambition and morality. The stakes are high as Sarah prepares to confront Ethan about his past, a past filled with blood money and buried secrets. As Sarah navigates through the crowd, she feels the weight of her mission pressing down on her shoulders. She knows that confronting Ethan could put her career and her life at risk, but she is determined to uncover the truth, even if it means walking into the lion's den. The central conflict begins to crystallize. Ethan Caldwell, a man who believes he is untouchable, versus Sarah Hayes, a woman driven by her sense of justice. Their paths are destined to collide in a battle that will test their resolve and reveal the depths of their characters. As the night unfolds, tension mounts like a simmering pot ready to boil over. Secrets will be unveiled, alliances tested, and lives forever changed in this high-stakes game where blood money fuels ambition. As the gala continues, the atmosphere thickens with anticipation. Ethan Caldwell, ever the master of ceremonies, feigns ignorance of the storm brewing on the horizon. He mingles with influential guests, his laughter echoing through the grand hall, but his mind races with thoughts of Detective Sarah Hayes. He knows she is a formidable opponent, one who has been inching closer to unraveling the web of deceit he has spun around his empire. Meanwhile, Sarah stands at the edge of the crowd, her heart pounding as she scans the room for Ethan. She is acutely aware that this confrontation could be her career-defining moment or her undoing. The stakes have never been higher. With each passing second, the tension escalates and she steels herself for what lies ahead. When their eyes finally meet across the room, a silent acknowledgement passes between them, a recognition of the impending clash. Ethan's smile returns, but it no longer holds warmth. It is a mask of calculated confidence. He knows how to play the game, and he intends to keep his secrets buried. As Sarah approaches him, she feels a rush of determination. She has spent countless nights poring over documents, piecing together evidence that links Ethan to a series of corrupt practices and cover-ups. But what haunts her most is the disappearance of Michael Turner, a former employee who had threatened to expose Ethan's illicit activities. Michael had confided in Sarah about his fears before vanishing without a trace. "Ethan," Sarah begins, her voice steady despite the chaos around them, "we need to talk about Michael Turner." The moment hangs in the air like a fragile glass ornament, ready to shatter at any moment. Ethan's expression shifts subtly. A flicker of concern crosses his face before he regains composure. "Detective Hayes," he replies smoothly, "I'm surprised to see you here. Surely you have better places to be than at my humble gathering." The exchange is electric, charged with unspoken threats and veiled accusations. Sarah presses on, her resolve unwavering. "Michael was last seen working for you. I have reason to believe he was onto something big, something that could implicate you." Ethan's demeanor shifts from charming host to cold businessman in an instant. "You should be careful with your accusations, detective. They can lead to dangerous places." His words are laced with menace, a warning that sends a chill down Sarah's spine. As their conversation unfolds, guests continue to swirl around them, oblivious to the tension brewing just beneath the surface. The music plays on, but for Sarah and Ethan, time has slowed to a crawl. In that moment, Sarah realizes that confronting Ethan will not be as simple as she had hoped. He is not just a businessman, he is a predator who has mastered the art of manipulation and deceit. She must tread carefully if she hopes to uncover the truth without becoming another victim in his ruthless game. The conflict deepens as Sarah learns more about Ethan's operations. His connections with powerful politicians and shady business partners who would do anything to protect their interests. She begins to understand that Michael's disappearance is not an isolated incident, but part of a much larger pattern of intimidation and violence designed to silence anyone who dares oppose Ethan. Determined not to back down, Sarah enlists the help of her partner Jake Reynolds, a seasoned detective known for his street smarts and resourcefulness. Together, they embark on a perilous investigation that leads them into the dark underbelly of Texas oil politics, a world filled with corruption, greed, and betrayal. As they dig deeper into Ethan's past, they uncover evidence linking him to several suspicious accidents involving whistleblowers and competitors alike. Each discovery raises more questions than answers. How far will Ethan go to protect his empire? Who else might be involved? And most importantly, where is Michael Turner? The tension escalates further when Sarah receives an anonymous tip-off about a clandestine meeting between Ethan and some unsavory characters in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The tip suggests that they are discussing plans that could threaten not only her investigation, but also her life. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah decides they must act quickly before it's too late. She and Jake prepare for what could be a dangerous confrontation, one that could either bring down Ethan Caldwell or seal their fates forever. As they approach the warehouse under cover of darkness, Sarah feels a mix of fear and determination. The weight of justice hangs heavy on her shoulders as she prepares for an encounter that could change everything. As Sarah Hayes and Jake Reynolds stealthily approach the dilapidated warehouse, the moonlight casts eerie shadows across the cracked pavement. The air is thick with tension, and the distant sounds of the city seem to fade away, leaving only the pounding of their hearts echoing in their ears. They exchange glances, a silent understanding passing between them. This is not just about bringing Ethan Caldwell to justice anymore. It's personal. Inside the warehouse, the atmosphere is charged with anticipation. dim light spills from a single flickering bulb, illuminating a group of men gathered around a table strewn with documents and maps. Among them, Ethan Caldwell stands at the center, exuding an air of authority that commands attention. His sharp suit contrasts sharply with the grimy surroundings, a reminder of his wealth and power. The men around him are rough-looking, their faces hardened by years of living in the shadows of the oil industry. Ethan's voice cuts through the murmur of conversation as he discusses plans to expand his operations into new territories. "We need to eliminate any threats before they become problems," he asserts, his tone icy and resolute. The men nod in agreement, their eyes glinting with a mix of fear and admiration for their leader. Meanwhile, Sarah and Jake crouch behind a stack of crates, their breaths held as they listen intently. The gravity of Ethan's words sends chills down Sarah's spine. She realizes that they are not just dealing with corporate greed. They are up against a man who is willing to resort to violence to maintain his grip on power. The tension escalates. Further, when one of Ethan's associates, a burly man named Frank, leans forward, his voice low and conspiratorial. "What about that detective? She's been sniffing around too much. We can't let her get too close." Ethan's expression hardens at the mention of Sarah's name. "I've dealt with pests before," he replies coolly, "and I'll deal with her again if necessary. She won't be a problem for long." Sarah clenches her fists at Ethan's dismissive attitude toward her investigation. The weight of her mission presses heavily on her shoulders. She knows that exposing Ethan means risking everything she holds dear. Yet she cannot allow fear to dictate her actions. As they continue to eavesdrop, Jake nudges Sarah gently, reminding her to stay focused. They need evidence, something concrete that will tie Ethan to Michael Turner's disappearance and his illicit activities. With renewed determination, Sarah pulls out her phone and begins recording audio discreetly. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts as one of Ethan's men bursts through the door, a frantic look on his face. "Boss, we've got a problem. Someone's been asking questions about Michael Turner." The room falls silent as Ethan's expression darkens, like a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. "Who?" he demands, his voice low and dangerous. "Detective Hayes," the man stammers, fear evident in his eyes. Ethan's jaw tightens as he processes this information. "Then we need to act fast." He turns to his associates with a calculated glint in his eye. "Prepare for damage control." Realizing they have overheard something crucial, Sarah and Jake exchange panicked glances. They must leave before they are discovered. Staying any longer could be fatal. As they retreat quietly from their hiding spot, Sarah feels an overwhelming sense of urgency. The stakes have risen dramatically. Ethan is no longer just an adversary, but a looming threat capable of destroying everything she has worked for. Back at their precinct, Sarah and Jake regroup in their cramped office filled with case files and coffee-stained reports. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead as they sift through the evidence they have gathered so far. A sense of camaraderie grows between them. Both are fueled by a shared commitment to uncovering the truth. "Sarah," Jake says thoughtfully as he leans back in his chair, "we need to be strategic about this. If we're going to take down Ethan Caldwell, we can't rush in blindly." Sarah nods in agreement, but can't shake off the feeling of dread gnawing at her insides. "I know he has connections everywhere," she admits, "but we can't let him intimidate us into silence." Their conversation reveals deeper layers of their relationship, both professional and personal, as they navigate their fears and motivations. Jake respects Sarah's tenacity, but worries about her safety. He has seen too many good officers fall victim to powerful criminals who operate above the law. As days pass and tensions mount, Sarah becomes increasingly aware of how isolated she feels in her quest for justice. Friends and colleagues begin to distance themselves from her as rumors swirl about her relentless pursuit of Ethan Caldwell, a man whose influence reaches far beyond what anyone could imagine. In quiet moments alone at home, Sarah reflects on her motivations. She is not just fighting for Michael Turner or even for herself. She is fighting against a system that allows men like Ethan to thrive while innocent lives are destroyed in their wake. The emotional toll weighs heavily on her as she grapples with feelings of loneliness and doubt. Yet every time she thinks about giving up, memories flood back, Michael's desperate plea for help echoing in her mind, and she knows she cannot turn away now. In an unexpected turn of events, Sarah receives an anonymous tip-off about a hidden cache of documents that could provide irrefutable evidence against Ethan Caldwell. The tip leads them to an old storage facility on the outskirts of town, a place where secrets are buried alongside forgotten memories. As they prepare for what could be a pivotal moment in their investigation, Sarah realizes that this journey has changed her profoundly. Her relationship with Jake has deepened into something more than friendship. They share a bond forged through adversity and shared purpose. Together, they embark on one last mission, one that could expose Ethan's empire for what it truly is, or lead them straight into danger's embrace. The night is thick with anticipation as Sarah and Jake arrive at the old storage facility, the moon casting a silvery glow over the dilapidated building. The air is heavy with the scent of rust and decay, a stark reminder of the forgotten treasures hidden within. As they step inside, the creaking floorboards echo their every movement, amplifying the tension that hangs in the air. The dim light filters through grimy windows, illuminating rows of dusty boxes and forgotten relics. Sarah's heart races as she scans the room, her instincts screaming that they are close to uncovering something monumental. She can feel the weight of justice pressing down on her shoulders, propelling her forward into the shadows. As they sift through the boxes, they uncover a trove of documents, contracts, financial statements, and correspondence that could unravel Ethan Caldwell's empire. Each piece of paper reveals a layer of deceit, exposing connections to corrupt officials and evidence of bribery that runs deep within the oil industry. The thrill of discovery surges through Sarah as she realizes they are on the brink of something significant. But just as hope begins to blossom, a sudden noise shatters the silence, a distant sound of footsteps approaching. Panic surges through Sarah and Jake as they exchange alarmed glances. They know they must act quickly. If Ethan's men discover them here, it could be catastrophic. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, they hastily gather as many documents as they can carry, stuffing them into their bags. The urgency of their situation sharpens their focus. Every second counts as they prepare to make their escape. As they move toward the exit, Sarah's heart pounds in her chest. The thrill of uncovering the truth is overshadowed by an overwhelming sense of dread. They slip out into the cool night air, just as shadows loom in the doorway behind them. Their escape is narrowly timed. They can hear muffled voices growing louder as Ethan's men search for them within the facility. Once outside, Sarah and Jake sprint toward their car parked a short distance away. The sound of footsteps echoes behind them, urgency fueling their flight. They reach their vehicle just in time, jumping inside and slamming the doors shut as Jake fumbles with the keys. The engine roars to life, and they peel away from the scene just as figures emerge from the storage facility. As they drive away under the cover of darkness, relief washes over them for a fleeting moment. They have what they came for: evidence that could expose Ethan Caldwell's corruption and bring him to justice. But that relief is short-lived. Sarah knows that this victory has made them targets in Ethan's eyes. Back at their precinct, Sarah and Jake spread out the documents on a table cluttered with coffee cups and case files. The atmosphere is electric with excitement and tension as they begin to piece together Ethan's web of deception. Each document reveals a new layer of corruption, payments made to officials, falsified reports, and evidence linking Ethan to Michael Turner's disappearance. But amid their triumph lies an undercurrent of fear. They know that revealing this information will put them directly in Ethan's crosshairs. As they delve deeper into their findings, Sarah feels an unsettling sense of foreboding creeping in, the realization that exposing Ethan may come at a terrible cost. Weeks pass as they prepare for their next move. They compile a comprehensive report detailing their findings, ready to present it to their superiors and take it public. But with each passing day, Ethan's influence grows more palpable. He has eyes everywhere, and his reach extends far beyond what Sarah had anticipated. In an attempt to intimidate her into silence, Ethan begins to send subtle threats, menacing glances from strangers on the street, and ominous messages left at her office door. The psychological toll weighs heavily on Sarah. She feels increasingly isolated in her pursuit of justice. Jake remains by her side throughout it all, offering support and camaraderie in moments when doubt threatens to consume her resolve. Their bond deepens as they navigate this treacherous landscape together. Shared glances convey unspoken understanding amidst the chaos surrounding them. But then comes a devastating blow. A news report breaks about Michael Turner's body being discovered in a remote area outside town. The revelation sends shockwaves through Sarah. It confirms her worst fears about Ethan's ruthlessness, but also ignites a fire within her, a determination to ensure that Michael did not die in vain. The turning point arrives when Sarah decides to go public with their findings, despite the risks involved. She knows that staying silent would mean allowing Ethan to continue his reign of terror unchecked. With Jake's unwavering support, she prepares for a press conference that could change everything. As she stands before cameras and reporters, her heart races with trepidation, but also fierce resolve. She lays bare Ethan Caldwell's corrupt practices before an audience hungry for truth, a moment that feels both liberating and terrifying. But even as she speaks out against injustice, she knows that this act will not go unanswered. The stakes have never been higher. She has awakened a sleeping giant who will stop at nothing to protect his empire. In that moment, Sarah understands that this journey has transformed her profoundly, not just as a detective, but as a person willing to risk everything for what is right. She has crossed a line from which there may be no return. The aftermath of the press conference reverberates through the community like a shockwave. Sarah Hayes becomes a household name, her courageous stand against Ethan Caldwell igniting a firestorm of media coverage and public outrage. Yet with this newfound attention comes a heavy burden. The threats against her escalate, and she is acutely aware that she has placed herself and those she cares about in grave danger. In the days following her bold declaration, Sarah finds herself grappling with the consequences of her actions. The office buzzes with excitement, but she feels increasingly isolated. Colleagues who once admired her now regard her with a mix of envy and apprehension, wary of the powerful adversary she has provoked. The weight of responsibility presses down on her, and moments of doubt creep in. Did she make the right choice? Was exposing Ethan worth the risk? Jake remains steadfast by her side, offering unwavering support as they navigate the storm together. He understands the emotional toll this journey has taken on Sarah and encourages her to focus on the evidence they have gathered. Together they sift through documents, piecing together a timeline that reveals Ethan's extensive network of corruption. As they delve deeper into their investigation, Sarah begins to rediscover her sense of purpose. Each piece of evidence they uncover strengthens her resolve. She realizes that their fight is not just about bringing Ethan to justice, but also about honoring Michael Turner's memory. With every document they analyze, she feels a renewed sense of determination, a commitment to ensure that no one else suffers at Ethan's hands. But as they work tirelessly to build their case, the threats from Ethan's camp become more pronounced. Late-night phone calls filled with ominous silence, shadowy figures lurking outside her home, and cryptic messages left at the precinct serve as constant reminders that they are being watched. The fear is palpable, but Sarah refuses to let it paralyze her. Instead, she channels that fear into action. She begins to train physically, taking self-defense classes to empower herself against potential threats. Each punch and kick becomes a cathartic release for her pent-up anxiety. She learns to harness her fear as a source of strength rather than weakness. The transformation is profound. Sarah emerges not just as a detective, but as a woman who refuses to be silenced or intimidated. Jake notices the change in Sarah. He admires her tenacity and resilience. Their bond deepens as they share late-night conversations filled with hopes and fears, dreams and doubts. They become each other's anchor amidst the chaos. A partnership, forged in adversity that transcends mere friendship. As they prepare for the next phase of their investigation, Sarah decides to reach out to Michael Turner's family. She knows that connecting with them could provide valuable insights into Ethan's operations and further strengthen their case. With Jake's encouragement, she meets with Michael's sister, Laura, who has been struggling to cope with her brother's tragic fate. During their meeting, Sarah listens intently as Laura recounts Michael's fears before his disappearance, the threats he received from Ethan's associates, and his desperate attempts to expose the truth. Laura's pain resonates deeply with Sarah. It fuels her determination to seek justice, not only for Michael, but for all those who have suffered at Ethan's hands. Inspired by Laura's courage, Sarah decides to organize a community rally, a gathering aimed at raising awareness about corruption in the oil industry and honoring Michael's memory. She envisions it as an opportunity to unite people against injustice and create a platform for others who have been silenced. As word spreads about the rally, support pours in from unexpected places. Activists, local leaders, and even former employees of Ethan's company come forward to share their stories. The movement gains momentum, transforming into a powerful coalition dedicated to holding Ethan accountable. On the day of the rally, Sarah stands before a crowd filled with passionate supporters holding signs demanding justice. The energy is electric. Hope hangs thick in the air as people come together for a common cause. As she speaks about Michael Turner's legacy and the importance of standing up against corruption, tears fill her eyes, not just for him, but for everyone who has suffered in silence. In that moment, Sarah realizes that she is no longer alone. In this fight, she is part of something much larger than herself, a movement fueled by collective courage and determination. The rally becomes a turning point, not only for Sarah, but for the entire community as they unite against injustice. With renewed vigor, Sarah and Jake continue their investigation with heightened determination. They gather testimonies from whistleblowers, willing to speak out against Ethan Caldwell's empire, each story adding weight to their case. As they prepare for what lies ahead, a potential confrontation with Ethan, they know that they are no longer just fighting for themselves. They are fighting for justice on behalf of all those who have been wronged. The emotional growth Sarah experiences throughout this journey transforms her into a beacon of hope for others facing adversity. She learns that true strength lies not only in physical prowess, but also in vulnerability, the ability to connect with others and inspire change through shared experiences. In this battle against corruption, Sarah Hayes emerges not just as a detective, but as a champion for justice, a woman willing to risk everything for what is right. The tension reaches a boiling point as Sarah and Jake prepare for the final confrontation with Ethan Caldwell. The evidence they have gathered is overwhelming. but they know that presenting it to the authorities will not be enough. Ethan is a man who operates in the shadows, a master manipulator who has built his empire on fear and deceit. They need to catch him in the act, expose him for the criminal he truly is. As they finalize their plans, Sarah feels a mix of anticipation and dread. The stakes have never been higher. Not only is her career on the line, but so is her life and the lives of those she cares about. With each passing moment, the weight of responsibility presses down on her, but she knows that this is their chance to bring Ethan to justice once and for all. In a bold move, Sarah and Jake decide to set up a sting operation. They arrange for a meeting with one of Ethan's associates, a man named Victor, who has been known to facilitate some of Ethan's more illicit dealings. They hope that by gaining Victor's trust, they can lure Ethan into a trap where they can gather irrefutable evidence of his wrongdoing. The location is chosen, a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of town, far from prying eyes. As night falls, Sarah and Jake arrive early to set up surveillance equipment and ensure that everything is in place. The atmosphere is thick with tension. Every creak of the floorboards sends shivers down Sarah's spine as she prepares for what lies ahead. As they wait in the shadows, Sarah reflects on how far she has come since this journey began. She recalls the moments of doubt and fear that once consumed her. But now she stands resolute, ready to face whatever comes next. The rally had ignited something within her. She was no longer just a detective, but a symbol of hope for those seeking justice. When Victor arrives, he seems nervous but eager to please. He has been promised a significant payday for his cooperation, and Sarah senses that he is desperate to prove himself to Ethan. As they engage in conversation, Sarah and Jake remain hidden in the shadows, their hearts racing as they listen intently. Minutes pass, like hours, until finally, the moment they have been waiting for arrives. Ethan Caldwell steps into the warehouse, exuding an air of confidence that belies the danger lurking beneath his polished exterior. He greets Victor with a firm handshake and an easy smile, but there is something cold in his eyes, a predator surveying his territory. As Ethan discusses plans for expanding operations into new territories, Sarah feels her pulse quicken. This is it, the moment they have been waiting for. She motions to Jake to prepare the recording equipment. They need to capture every word spoken in this meeting. But just as they begin recording, disaster strikes. A loud crash echoes from outside, the sound of approaching vehicles shattering the stillness of the night. Panic surges through Sarah as she realizes that Ethan's men are closing in on them. They must act quickly before it's too late. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah signals to Jake to initiate their backup plan. They burst from their hiding spot just as Ethan turns toward them, surprise etched across his face. "You!" he exclaims, recognition dawning as he realizes he has been set up. The atmosphere shifts from one of calculated business dealings to chaos as Sarah confronts Ethan head-on. She lays out the evidence they have gathered, the documents linking him to corruption and Michael Turner's disappearance, her voice steady despite the whirlwind around them. Ethan's demeanor changes instantly. His charming facade crumbles as anger radiates from him like heat from a fire. "You think you can take me down?" he snarls, his voice low and dangerous. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Just then, chaos erupts as Ethan's men storm into the warehouse, gruff figures ready to protect their boss at any cost. A scuffle breaks out as Sarah and Jake fight back against overwhelming odds. The air fills with shouts and the sounds of fists hitting flesh. Adrenaline fuels their every move as they grapple with Ethan's henchmen. In the midst of the chaos, Sarah spots Victor cowering in a corner, his earlier bravado vanished in an instant. She realizes that he holds the key to turning this confrontation in their favor. If he can be convinced to testify against Ethan, It could change everything. With determination surging through her veins, Sarah rushes toward Victor amidst the fray. "You need to help us," she urges him, her voice cutting through the noise. "This is your chance to do what's right." For a moment, doubt flickers in Victor's eyes as he weighs his options, loyalty to Ethan or standing up against corruption. But then something shifts within him. Perhaps it's fear, or perhaps it's guilt for his complicity in Ethan's schemes that drives him forward. With newfound resolve, Victor steps forward and shouts for Ethan to stop fighting back, a declaration that catches everyone off guard. "I'm done with this. I won't be part of your lies anymore." His voice trembles but carries an undeniable strength. Ethan's face contorts with rage at Victor's betrayal. He lunges toward him with fury blazing in his eyes. But before he can reach him, Jake intervenes, tackling Ethan and bringing him crashing down onto the floor. In that moment of chaos, Sarah seizes her opportunity. She activates her recording device and captures every incriminating word spoken by both Ethan and Victor. The evidence needed to bring down a titan of industry once and for all. As sirens wail in the distance, a sign that help is on its way, the tide begins to turn against Ethan Caldwell. The clash between good and evil reaches its zenith as law enforcement arrives just in time to apprehend Ethan and his associates. In the aftermath of the chaos, Sarah stands amidst debris scattered across the warehouse floor. A mixture of triumph and exhaustion washing over her like waves crashing against rocks. She has faced her fears head-on and emerged victorious against an adversary who once seemed invincible. The climax marks not just a turning point in their investigation, but also a profound transformation within Sarah herself. A realization that courage comes not from being fearless, but from standing up despite fear itself. As law enforcement takes custody of Ethan Caldwell and his men, Sarah feels an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her, a culmination of months spent fighting against corruption and injustice. But even amidst victory lies uncertainty. She knows that this battle may be won, but there are still many challenges ahead as they navigate the aftermath of their confrontation with one of Texas's most powerful oil tycoons. In the days that follow the dramatic confrontation at the warehouse, the atmosphere in the precinct buzzes with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Sarah Hayes and Jake Reynolds are hailed as heroes for their bravery in exposing Ethan Caldwell and his corrupt empire. Yet beneath the surface of celebration lies an undercurrent of uncertainty. Ethan's arrest is just the beginning of a much larger battle. As news outlets cover the story extensively, Sarah is thrust into the spotlight. Interviews flood in, and she finds herself navigating a whirlwind of media attention. While she is grateful for the opportunity to raise awareness about corruption in the oil industry, she also feels the weight of scrutiny pressing down on her. The public eye can be both a blessing and a curse, and she knows that Ethan's powerful connections will not take his downfall lightly. Amidst this chaos, Sarah receives a cryptic message from an unknown source, a warning that sends chills down her spine. The message hints at deeper layers of corruption within the system, suggesting that Ethan's arrest may only scratch the surface of a more insidious network. The realization that there are still threats lurking in the shadows ignites a fire within her. She cannot afford to let her guard down now. Determined to uncover the truth behind the message, Sarah enlists Jake's help once more. Together, they begin to investigate further into Ethan's connections, digging through documents, reaching out to former employees, and following leads that could expose a web of corruption extending far beyond what they initially uncovered. As they delve deeper into their investigation, they discover unsettling truths about Ethan's associates, powerful figures with deep ties to local government and law enforcement. It becomes clear that Ethan was not acting alone. He was part of a larger syndicate that had operated under the radar for years, manipulating events to serve their interests while silencing those who dared to speak out. The new turning point comes when Sarah receives an unexpected visit from Laura Turner, Michael's sister. Laura has been following the developments closely and has uncovered information that could be crucial to their investigation. She shares her findings about a mysterious figure known only as the Broker, an individual rumored to orchestrate illegal dealings for Ethan and his associates. Intrigued by Laura's revelations, Sarah realizes that this broker could hold the key to unraveling the entire operation. They discuss how to approach this next phase of their investigation. It becomes clear that they need to tread carefully if they hope to expose such powerful players without putting themselves in danger. With Laura's help, Sarah and Jake devise a plan to gather more information about the broker. They begin by reaching out to contacts within the community, individuals who may have had dealings with Ethan or his associates. As they piece together fragments of information, a clearer picture begins to emerge. However, as they dig deeper, it becomes evident that they are not alone in their pursuit. They start receiving ominous warnings, threatening messages left at their homes, and unsettling encounters with shadowy figures lurking in dark corners. Each encounter serves as a reminder that they are challenging forces far greater than themselves. The tension escalates when Sarah learns that the broker is planning a significant meeting with several influential figures within the oil industry, a gathering that could solidify their power even further. This revelation ignites urgency within Sarah. If they can infiltrate this meeting and gather evidence of wrongdoing, it could expose not only Ethan, but also those who have been complicit in his actions. Sarah and Jake devise an elaborate plan to gain access to this clandestine meeting. They strategize meticulously, utilizing Laura's connections to secure invitations under false pretenses. The risk is immense. If discovered, it could jeopardize everything they have worked for. As they prepare for this high-stakes infiltration, Sarah reflects on how much she has changed throughout this journey. She has transformed from an officer seeking justice into a determined warrior willing to face danger head-on for what she believes in. The stakes have never been higher. She understands that this mission could either lead them closer to justice or plunge them deeper into peril. On the night of the meeting, Sarah dons an elegant disguise, a carefully crafted persona designed to blend into the opulence surrounding her while masking her true intentions. With Jake by her side, they navigate through a lavish venue filled with powerful figures discussing deals worth millions. As they mingle among guests, Sarah's heart races with anticipation and trepidation. She is acutely aware that one misstep could expose them. Every interaction feels like walking on a tightrope, suspended over a chasm of danger. When the broker finally arrives, a suave figure with an air of authority, the atmosphere shifts palpably. Conversations hush as he enters, commanding attention from everyone present. Sarah watches intently as he engages with Ethan's associates. She knows this is her chance to gather evidence against him. With Jake covering her back, Sarah discreetly records conversations while keeping her composure intact. As discussions unfold around her, talks of illegal contracts and bribery, she realizes just how deep this corruption runs. But just as she begins to feel confident in her mission, disaster strikes once again. A familiar face appears in the crowd, one she never expected to see. Detective Mark Lawson, a colleague who had previously expressed skepticism about her investigation into Ethan Caldwell. Mark's presence sends shockwaves through Sarah. He has always been known for his loyalty to powerful figures within law enforcement. As he approaches her with a knowing smile, she feels her heart race with anxiety. Has he recognized her? Is he here to thwart their efforts? The new turning point arrives when Mark confronts Sarah directly amidst the chaos of conversation surrounding them. a moment filled with tension as loyalties are tested and true intentions revealed. In this pivotal moment, everything hangs in the balance. Will Sarah be able to navigate this treacherous situation without exposing herself? Will she find allies among enemies or face betrayal from those she once trusted? The stakes have never been higher as Sarah prepares for what lies ahead, a confrontation that could either solidify their case against the broker or unravel everything they have fought so hard to achieve. The tension in the air is palpable as Sarah faces Detective Mark Lawson, her heart pounding in her chest. She knows that this moment could change everything. Mark's presence at the meeting is no coincidence. He has always been a loyal ally to Ethan Caldwell and his associates. The realization dawns on her that he may be here to protect their interests rather than uphold the law. As they exchange glances, Sarah feels a whirlwind of emotions: fear, anger, and determination. She understands that Mark's loyalty to Ethan could pose a significant threat to her investigation, yet she also senses an opportunity. If she can turn the tide and convince Mark of the corruption they are fighting against, it could strengthen their case. With Jake discreetly watching from a distance, Sarah takes a deep breath and steels herself for what lies ahead. She knows she must tread carefully, choosing her words wisely to navigate this precarious situation. Mark approaches her with a casual demeanor, but there is an edge to his voice as he speaks. He feigns interest in the event while subtly probing for information about her intentions. Sarah remains composed, carefully deflecting his questions while gathering her thoughts. As the meeting progresses around them, Sarah feels the weight of the evidence she has gathered pressing down on her. She knows that if she can plant the seeds of doubt in Mark's mind about Ethan and the broker, it could shift the balance of power in their favor. In a moment of vulnerability, Sarah shares with Mark snippets of what she has uncovered: the threats against whistleblowers, Michael, Turner's disappearance, and the extensive network of corruption that extends beyond Ethan Caldwell. She appeals to his sense of justice, hoping to awaken any lingering doubts he may have about his allegiance to Ethan. Mark's expression shifts subtly as he processes her words. For a brief moment, uncertainty flickers in his eyes. But just as hope begins to blossom within Sarah, she notices a change in his demeanor, a hardened resolve that suggests he is not easily swayed. Before she can react, Mark's phone buzzes with an incoming message. He glances at it quickly, and his face pales as he reads the contents. The urgency in his eyes reveals that something significant is unfolding behind the scenes, something that could put them all at risk. In that instant, chaos erupts within the venue. A loud crash reverberates through the hall as security personnel rush toward a commotion near the entrance. Panic ensues as guests scramble for safety. Sarah realizes that Ethan's associates are attempting to flee or retaliate against those who threaten their empire. With adrenaline surging through her veins, Sarah seizes the opportunity to act. She signals to Jake to follow her lead as they navigate through the crowd toward the broker's table, where crucial evidence lies within reach. As they approach, they spot the broker attempting to escape through a back exit. Without hesitation, Sarah lunges forward, calling out for him to stop. The chaos surrounding them creates an atmosphere ripe for confrontation. This is their chance to expose him once and for all. A chase ensues through the labyrinthine corridors of the venue, Sarah and Jake pursuing the broker as he weaves through startled guests and frantic security personnel. The adrenaline fuels their every move. They cannot afford to let him slip away. Finally cornered in a secluded area, away from prying eyes, the broker turns to face them, a smirk playing on his lips as if he holds all the cards. But Sarah stands firm. She knows that this is not just about capturing him, but about dismantling an entire system of corruption. With Jake covering her back, Sarah confronts the broker directly. She lays out the evidence they have gathered, the documents linking him to illegal dealings and bribery, and demands answers. The confrontation is intense. Every word exchange crackles with tension as they grapple for control over the narrative. In a surprising twist, the broker reveals information that shakes Sarah to her core. He hints at deeper connections within law enforcement and politics that extend beyond Ethan Caldwell's reach. This revelation sends shockwaves through her. It becomes clear that exposing Ethan may only be part of a much larger battle against systemic corruption. As law enforcement arrives on the scene following the chaos caused by Ethan's associates, Sarah knows that time is running out. They must act swiftly before the broker slips away into obscurity or worse, before powerful figures conspire to silence. In them once again, with renewed determination coursing through her veins, Sarah gathers her courage and makes a bold decision. She will not only expose Ethan, but also take down the broker and those complicit in this web of deceit. In a dramatic turn of events, she manages to secure the broker's cooperation by promising him immunity in exchange for full disclosure about his dealings with Ethan and other influential figures. It's a risky gamble, but with everything on the line, her career, her safety and justice for Michael Turner, Sarah knows there is no turning back now. As they move forward with their plan to bring down not just Ethan, but an entire syndicate built on corruption and greed, Sarah feels a profound sense of purpose wash over her. This journey has transformed her from a detective seeking justice into a warrior fighting against oppression, a woman willing to risk everything for what is right. The fallout from these revelations sends shockwaves throughout the community. Investigations are launched into not only Ethan Caldwell's operations, but also into those who have turned a blind eye for far too long. In the end, justice prevails as both Ethan Caldwell and the broker are brought to trial, held accountable for their actions amid public scrutiny and outrage. As Sarah stands before reporters sharing her story once more, she reflects on how far she has come, a journey marked by courage and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. But even amidst victory lies uncertainty. Sarah understands that this battle may be won, but there are still many challenges ahead as they navigate the aftermath of their confrontation with powerful figures who will stop at nothing to protect their interests. As she looks out at the crowd gathered before her, people united against corruption, Sarah feels hope blossom anew within her heart. Together, they have fought against darkness and emerged victorious. Together, they will continue to shine light on injustice wherever it may lurk.